Access your free language gifts right now, before they expire. Here's what you're getting this month. First, want to travel someday? Then get our free must-know travel words and phrases PDF ebook. Beginners should master these words in their very first month. Second, the Talking About Time PDF cheat sheet. Days of the week, months, seasons, and time-related vocabulary. You learn it all with this printable PDF cheat sheet. Third, top ways to reject invitations. Need a good excuse to stay home tonight? With this 1-minute lesson, you learn how to say, "Sorry, I have plans," and other phrases in your target language. Fourth, most common phrases for conversations. This quick lesson gets you speaking the basics in minutes. So if you feel you're not ready to speak yet, this lesson is for you. Fifth, want the best language learning app? Download Innovative Language 101 for free for the Android, iPhone, and iPad. You unlock hundreds of audio and video lessons and courses and learn real language by real teachers. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master the language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, get up to 35% off Basic, Premium, or Premium Plus with the 1 billion download celebration sale. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the lesson description below. Download them right now before they expire. First question this week comes from Jose Antonio. Hi, Jose. Jose says, "Hi, Alicia. I love your videos. I've learned a lot with them." Cool. My question is, how do I use for and to? For instance, I want to practice my English for improving or to improve it. Yeah, tough question, good question. And many people have asked this question over the last year and a half or so, or questions very similar to it. This is a very big question that does not have an easy, quick answer. But I want to talk a little bit about this and maybe at least point our viewers in the right direction here. So this difference, the difference between this for something and to something, breaks into two categories called infinitives and gerunds. So the infinitive form is to plus a verb. So like in your example, to improve, or like to practice, or to start, and so on. To plus a verb is the infinitive form. The gerund, on the other hand, is that like verb, the base verb, plus ing. So for example, starting, or improving, or practicing. Those are gerunds. So there are these two types of like things that we can use in sentences, and the problem comes in where we don't know which one to use, or learners don't know which one to use. The reason for this is there's not like a specific grammar rule that tells us use a gerund here, or use an infinitive here. There's not a specific grammar rule. Instead, native speakers understand which one to use based on the verb that precedes the gerund or the infinitive. So that means we're not following like a written rule for grammar. We're instead following established patterns that start from the verb before the expression. So for example, the verb agree. Following the verb agree, we use the infinitive. So to describe this, we say agree takes the infinitive. For example, he agreed to meet me, or she agreed to wait another day. So after the verb agree, we use the infinitive form of a verb. The verb practice takes the infinitive. We need to practice to improve, or she practiced the song to increase her confidence. The verb start takes either the gerund or the infinitive. She started cooking. She started to cook. He started writing. He started to write. Either is fine with the verb start. The verb finish takes a gerund. He finished working. I finished showering. The verb like takes either. He likes to cook. He likes cooking. She likes to hike. She likes hiking. So these are just a few examples of very common verbs, and it's up to all of us to practice as we listen and as we read to notice which form comes after which verb. This is not easy by any means, but this is something native speakers gradually learn over time. It's not like a one study moment thing. There's not one specific rule to memorize. So unfortunately, it's not an easy thing to fix. It's just something that takes time and awareness. So as you read, pay attention to the sorts of verbs that are usually followed with a gerund or with an infinitive, and you'll start to be able to make these decisions more naturally for yourself. So I know that this is a very open answer, and it is a very big topic for sure, but I hope that this at least helps you get started in being more aware as you read and as you listen. So thanks very much for this question, and thanks very much to everybody who sent in similar questions over the last few months too. I hope that this is helpful for all of you. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Ayman. Hi again, Ayman. Ayman says, I sometimes hear the phrase just because as a reply to someone's statement. What does it mean? For example, why did you do that? Reply, just because. Yeah, you can imagine this as like the short version of the statement, just because I wanted to. So usually we use this expression when we do something nice for someone just because we want to. Like there's no special reason, it's not someone's birthday, there's not a big event. We are happy to see our friend or we're happy to see our family member. So we do something nice. We give them a present or we say something nice, whatever. And when they ask us why, we say just because. So it's like saying, I have no specific reason, I did it because I wanted to. But we don't say all of those words. We make it very short and quick, and we say just because. So for example, I got like concert tickets from a good friend. Like, oh wow, you got me concert tickets? This is amazing. Why did you do that? Just because. So it's usually with that kind of friendly, like, it was no big deal, there's no reason. That's usually the feeling of this expression, just because. So it's because that person wanted to, and they didn't have a particular reason for it. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Amr. Hi Amr. Amr says, hi Alicia, how's it going? Good. Can you please tell me the meaning of strap in for? Strap in for. Yeah, sure. To strap in for something means to prepare for something. So this comes from like kind of extreme sports or like extreme activities. For example, a pilot or like a race car driver, when they enter the place where they are going to work or where they enter like their activity space, because it's an extreme activity or very dangerous, they use physical straps like seat belts in a car, similar to that. Strap in for comes from those straps that are used to secure someone into position, and we use in to refer to like this situation we are entering. So a pilot is entering a plane, or a race car driver is entering a race car. So they are preparing for something extreme to happen. So when do we use this expression in everyday life? You might hear this used before exciting experiences, like you're going rafting or kayaking or something kind of extreme. You might also hear it used in like advertisements for action movies. They'll be like, strap in for the last installment in the Star Wars saga, or something like that. Is Star Wars finished? It's never finished, right? Yeah. So strap in for makes it sound like something exciting is going to happen to you, so you need to prepare by putting like safety straps on. So that's the idea. Strap in for an exciting or potentially dangerous or a thrilling experience. So that's what this expression means, and this is how you might hear it used. I personally do not really use this expression. I feel like it gets used more in like advertisement and media things to sound catchy. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Koki Yamashita. Hi Koki. Koki says, hi Alicia, I love your channel. I always watch your lessons during my commute. Cool, thanks. When I lived with a host family in America, my host mother sometimes asked me, you wanted to help me cook? Is you wanted to the same meaning as can you? Greetings from Japan. I have a couple of thoughts about this. First, to answer your question, you wanted to does not mean can you. Those two things are not the same. They are different. My first thought is about the expression you wanted to. So in your example, you wanted to help me cook. If that's a question, it could be correct. It is correct. That would be a confirmation question. So in that situation, maybe, for example, you spoke to your host mother earlier in the day and you mentioned like you were interested in cooking. She wanted to confirm later in the day, oh, you wanted to help me cook? in that situation, that question is fine. She's confirming something that she heard earlier from you. So yes, you can use you wanted to confirm something from before. Like you think this person wanted to do something before, you want to confirm that. If that was the situation, great, no problem. My second thought about this situation, though, is that there's maybe a chance that instead of saying you wanted to, she might have said, you wanna help me cook? As in, you wanna help me cook? Which means, would you like to help me cook? Which sounds like an offer, but is actually a very soft request. Like, you wanna help me cook? It sounds like she's inviting you to do something, but it actually is kind of more of a request, like, please help me cook. So I have those two thoughts about this. So yeah, again, in direct answer to your question, no, those two things do not mean the same thing. It could have been a confirmation question, or perhaps she said you wanna instead of you wanted to help me cook. So I hope that one of those ideas will help you understand the situation a little bit better. So thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Andre. Hi, Andre. Andre says, hi, Alicia. What does the expression get it right mean? I noticed it has several meanings depending on context. Thanks, anticipating your answer. This expression means to do something correctly or to understand something correctly. So if we make a mistake and our teacher notices the mistake and is really strict with us, the teacher might say, like, get it right, like shouting like that. So you might hear that in other situations outside of education. So like a coach sees the players on a team making mistakes and the coach might shout, get it right, which means do it correctly, do it correctly. Or like if you're at work and you say to yourself, I really want to get this right, meaning I really want to do my project correctly, or I really want to do this task correctly, you would be using this expression in the right way too. Perhaps you've also heard something like, let me get this right. Let me get this right and get it right are a bit different, actually. So for example, if you heard something like, let me get this right, you want me to loan you $2,000 so you can buy a puppy? Are you crazy? You might hear an expression like that, where let me get this right means let me confirm, or let me check to make sure I understand you correctly. So that is very different from get it right. So to get it right means to do something or to understand something correctly. Let me get this right means let me check or let me confirm something. So they're quite different. Perhaps that's the different context that you were referring to in your question. But I hope that this answer helps you. Dog, dog, dog. A dog is a very popular and very common pet. We see small dogs and big dogs. Is that your dog? Is that your dog? Is that your dog? Cat, cat, cat. Cats are also very, very popular pets. We see cats that have very short fur and cats that have long, fluffy fur. My cat likes to take a nap in the afternoon. My cat likes to take a nap in the afternoon. My cat likes to take a nap in the afternoon. Hamster, hamster, hamster. So a hamster is a very small pet. It's kind of popular among very young children. Hamsters like to sleep during the day. Hamsters like to sleep during the day. Hamsters like to sleep during the day. Warm, warm, warm. We use warm to describe a temperature that's not quite hot, that's a little bit pleasant, but it's not cool either. The soup must be warm. The soup must be warm. The soup must be warm. Rain, rain, rain. We use the word rain to talk about the water that falls from the sky. The rain is falling on the street. The rain is falling on the street. The rain is falling on the street. Tomato, Tomato. Tomato. A tomato is a red fruit. They're very common in salads. There are very large tomatoes or smaller tomatoes as well. My grandfather grows tomatoes in his garden. My grandfather grows tomatoes in his garden. My grandfather grows tomatoes in his garden. Strawberry. 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 A strawberry is a very sweet red berry that's very common in desserts. I like strawberry, not apple. I like strawberry, not apple. I like strawberry, not apple. Cherry. 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 So a cherry is another small, sweet, red berry, or not really a berry, more of a small fruit that you can eat. You can typically have them in one bite. I want to eat cherries. I want to eat cherries. I want to eat cherries. Child. 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 So a child is someone who is not an adult. Usually around the age of 15, 14 or so, they kind of start to become like an adult. When I was a child, I used to ride my bike to school every day. When I was a child, I used to ride my bike to school every day. When I was a child, I used to ride my bike to school every day. Friend. 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 So a friend is someone that we are close to, we can share our experiences with and enjoy spending time together. I met a friend at the park. I met a friend at the park. I met a friend at the park. Adult. 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 So an adult is someone who is a grown person. In your country, maybe an adult is 18 years old or 20 years old or 21 years old, but an adult is someone who can be responsible for themselves. Sometimes being an adult just isn't very fun. Sometimes being an adult just isn't very fun. Sometimes being an adult just isn't very fun. Bicycle. 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 A bicycle is a mode of transportation. It's popular with kids, it's popular with adults. You can ride easily around your city or your neighborhood with a bicycle. The bicycle is in the garage. The bicycle is in the garage. The bicycle is in the garage. Car. 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 A car is a very common mode of transportation in North America. Many people have their own car. What kind of car is it? What kind of car is it? What kind of car is it? Motorcycle. 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 So a motorcycle is like a bicycle with an engine. Usually one person or maybe two people can ride a motorcycle. He has 2 cars and a motorcycle. He has 2 cars and a motorcycle. He has 2 cars and a motorcycle. Scooter. 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 So a scooter is a little bit shorter than a motorcycle. It's something you can sit on, and there are places to put your feet on either side, and you can ride it around your city or your neighborhood. Scooters are convenient in the city. Scooters are convenient in the city. Scooters are convenient in the city. Boat. 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 So a boat refers to a method of transportation for water. You can use a rowboat, a very old-fashioned style boat, or very, very large, expensive boats called yachts. The boat floats on the water. The boat floats on the water. The boat floats on the water. Jellyfish. 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 So a jellyfish is an undersea creature. Some of them can be dangerous. They may sting people as a way to defend themselves against attacks. The jellyfish are bobbing in the water. The jellyfish are bobbing in the water. The jellyfish are bobbing in the water. Lobster. 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 So a lobster is another sea creature. Lobsters are very popular because they are delicious. Lobsters are very expensive. Lobsters are very expensive. Lobsters are very expensive. Crab. 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 So a crab is another sea creature. Crabs typically have very large pinchers, and they walk in this motion. They walk from side to side. Crabs usually walk sideways. Crabs usually walk sideways. Crabs usually walk sideways. Turtle. 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 So a turtle is another water-based creature. Turtles are known for being very, very slow, and they have a hard shell to protect them. The sea turtle is swimming in the sea. The sea turtle is swimming in the sea. The sea turtle is swimming in the sea. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about some nouns that can be used in countable and uncountable ways. I'm going to introduce the noun, the different meanings for the noun, and also a few example sentences. So let's get started. Okay, first I want to start on this side of the board. I'm focusing over here on food. So we're going to talk about some very common food-related nouns that can be countable or uncountable. Let's start with fruit. Fruit. So let's look at the uncountable meaning first and then the countable meaning second. So fruit as an uncountable noun means food from a plant. So this is food usually with seeds inside or food that comes from a seed of some kind, or it's like the fruit is the seed of a plant. So this is generally known as fruit. Fruit, the uncountable meaning. For example, do you like fruit? Do you like fruit? So this is the uncountable sense of the word. As a countable noun, fruit means a specific type of fruit. For example, many fruits grow in warm climates. So warm climates means a place that has a warm temperature around the year or year-round. So many fruits, that means many different types of food from a plant, many different kinds of these, many different examples of fruit grow in warm climates. So this means any food that grows in a warm climate or any fruit that grows in a warm climate. So we're talking about a specific type when we use it as a countable noun. So some people might prefer like fruits that are very sweet, or some people prefer fruits that are very sour. So you might want to talk about kind of categories or very, as I said, specific types. To do that, you can use fruit as a countable noun. Okay, the next one is meat. Meat. So as a countable noun, as an uncountable noun, meat means food from a cow or a pig or a chicken. So food that comes from an animal, the parts of an animal. We make food from the parts of the animal. So, for example, she doesn't eat meat. So in this sense, as an uncountable noun, it means the food that comes from the parts of an animal. So it's made from the flesh of an animal. As a countable noun, again, just like with fruit and fruits, as a countable noun, meat refers to a specific type of meat, a specific kind of meat. For example, some meats are healthier than others. Some meats are healthier than others. So that means inside the category of meat, Some types of meat, or instead of saying types of meat, we say some meats are healthier than others. So that might mean, for example, like chicken or maybe lean beef. Those things are healthier than pork, for example. I don't know. But this is how we would use meat as a countable noun to refer to a category or a specific group, a specific type inside meat. We use it as a countable noun. Okay, on to the next one. The next one is chicken. Chicken. So yes, I did mention that chicken is a type of meat, but we also use chicken alone as an uncountable noun. It means meat from a chicken. Meat from a chicken, where a chicken, as we'll talk about in a moment, is a bird. So when we use it as an uncountable noun, we use it to talk about just the meat that comes from the bird. For example, let's get chicken for dinner. Let's get chicken for dinner. So this is as an uncountable noun, chicken. When we use it as a countable noun, it refers to a bird raised for eggs and meat. So this is the animal, in other words, when we say a chicken or the chickens. It refers to the animal. So that's used as a countable noun. For example, our family has 3 chickens. Our family has 3 chickens. We have to use the plural form here, chickens, because we have 3 of them. So this is using it as a countable noun to refer to the bird. This is as an uncountable noun, it refers to the food. So this is a key difference between chicken and a chicken. Okay, on to the next one. The next 2 really, are kind of groups. The first one, this is all for drinks. So I've labeled this drink because we can use the same pattern for all of these things. So beer, coffee, tea, water, juice, whatever. All of these things, we can use them as uncountable nouns to just mean a drink. For example, we drink a lot of coffee. So this coffee just means in general, as a type of drink, as a kind of drink. We could say we drink a lot of beer, we drink a lot of water, a lot of juice, and so on. This is as an uncountable noun. When we use one of these words as a countable noun, however, it means 1 serving. So usually here, like a cup or a glass of a specific drink. So you'll hear 2 beers, please. 2 beers, please. That means 2 servings of beer. Or 2 waters, please, you might hear. Or 2 juices, please. So we use these as countable nouns to mean 1 serving or 1 portion of that drink. So when you're speaking generally about likes or dislikes or your habits perhaps, you can use it as an uncountable noun. When you're ordering something at a restaurant or you're talking about quantity, you can use it as a countable noun. So just add an S to the end of the noun here. Okay, so the same idea applies to this last one in the food group. I have bread, cheese, cake. You might also hear it used with pizza as well. So these foods that are they're big and we usually need to cut them or slice them. We need to make them smaller before we serve them. We can use this kind of pattern, these kinds of patterns to talk about them. So all of these, bread, cheese, cake, these are all food items, usually food items that need to be made smaller before we serve them. As an uncountable noun, we use it in a sentence like this. We need to buy bread, or we need to buy cheese, we need to buy cake, or let's get some cake, let's get some cheese, and so on. This means generally that food. I want that food in particular. So we're not talking about the smaller parts or a specific type. But when we use it as a countable noun, it refers to a specific type of that item. So a specific type of bread or a specific type of cheese, a specific type of cake. For example, some cheeses are made with mold. Some cheeses are made with mold, like blue cheese, for example. So some cheeses, you'll see here, I've made cheese plural by adding an S to the end. That means inside the category of cheese, some types are made with mold. So we would not say some cheese are made with mold. We cannot use it in that sense with the uncountable version. We need to use a countable, so a plural form of the noun. We could talk about bread as well in this way, like some breads take a long time to make. Some breads take a long time to make. That means within the category of bread, there are some types that take a long time to make. We can do the same thing with cake or with pizza. So yes, it's this uncountable noun. When we talk about it generally, we mean this uncountable noun. But if we want to talk about a specific type or a specific category inside this group, we use it as a countable noun. This is especially helpful when you're talking about flavors or the way something is made. Okay, let's continue on to the next side. The next side, I have here food. Yes, this is generally to talk about all types of food. So as an uncountable noun, we use the word food to talk about everything that people eat, everything that animals eat. So things for people and animals to eat, food as an uncountable noun. However, when we use it as a countable noun, we're talking about a specific type of thing to eat. So this follows the same pattern as all of these food-related items, well, except maybe chicken. But it follows the same pattern as these. When we want to talk about a specific category inside food, we can use it as a countable noun. So as an uncountable noun, we might say something like, I ate too much food. I ate too much food. But as a countable noun, you might say something like, fried foods are unhealthy. Fried foods are unhealthy. So why did we say fried foods are unhealthy? Why not fried food is unhealthy? Actually, both sentences are correct. It's totally fine. The difference, fried foods, this means all types of food which are fried are unhealthy. So that means fried chicken or like French fries, fried potatoes, anything dipped in oil and cooked at a high temperature. All of those things are unhealthy. So this is why we use fried foods. We're talking about specifically all things inside the category of fried food. So we can use the plural form here. But yes, fried food is unhealthy is also okay to use. So they communicate the same idea, but you might hear something like this as well. So if you want to talk about a specific type of thing, you can use countable the countable version to do that. You'll hear this a lot when you're talking about like diets and healthy eating and so on. People will say like, try to include more healthy foods in your diet. So that means try to include more food that is healthy. So it's like a quicker way to say that. Okay, on to the next one. So the last group here, these are quite different from the ones we've talked about before. Next is glass. Glass. So as an uncountable noun, it means a material. So glass is the thing that like windows are made of. This window or the window is made of glass. So it's a material we use for things, for cups or for glasses and so on. Countable noun then, I've just hinted at it. Glass as a countable noun means an object used for drinking liquid. So as a countable noun, yes. Please be careful, this is not the same as glasses. That's a separate situation. So we can use glasses to mean the things we wear on our faces to be able to see better. This is different. So we don't say glasses is for the accessory that we wear. This one is different. We use glasses to mean an object used for drinking liquid. So this is the plural form. So one glass, two glasses. Bring two glasses from the kitchen. So that means two things for drinking liquid from the kitchen. So material, object for drinking liquid. These are very different. Yes, it's true though. Sometimes you might have a glass that is made of glass. So in that sense, you can use them together. Okay, on to the next one, time. Time. So time can be uncountable or countable. Time, as an uncountable noun, means the duration of something, how long something is. So we use clocks to measure time. In a sentence, we don't have enough time to to have a meeting today. We don't have enough time. So that means we don't have enough space in the day. So the duration is not long enough. The duration of this day is not long enough. As a countable noun, however, it means the number of instances. So for example, I've traveled overseas many times, many times. So you use this when you're talking about your life experience, for example. I've been there 3 times, or I've seen him 4 times today. So times in the plural form is used to talk about the number of instances, the number of times, the number of instances you have experienced something, or maybe the number of instances you're planning to experience something in the future. So these two are quite different. Okay, the next one is work. This is a very good one to remember, especially if you are in creative related fields. As an uncountable noun, work refers to one's job. So one here, one means one person, oneself. So your job or your profession. For example, she's at work right now. I have to go to work, and so on. So that refers to your job, your profession, the thing you do for your life. However, as a countable noun, work means something made by a creative person. So this is like an artist, a musician, an illustrator, whatever kind of creative work it is. I've just used it there. We use work to talk about the things that are made by that person. For example, I love the works of Monet. I love the works of Monet. So works here means the things created by Monet. So the things created, I use the here because I'm talking specifically about the things Monet made. We don't use I love a works here or I love a work by Monet unless you only want to talk about like one specific thing and you don't remember the name. So I love the works of Monet, or I saw a new work by some up-and-coming artist. So you might hear it used in a situation like that. Generally, we use work for creative related things. We don't really use this so much for like maybe engineering or like math or sciences, stuff like that. So we tend to use this for creative related things. Okay, on to the last one, pronunciation. Pronunciation, important I think for everyone watching this channel. Pronunciation as an uncountable noun means the sounds made when speaking a language, so generally. So we have English pronunciation and Chinese pronunciation and French pronunciation. So those are the sounds made when we speak a certain language. For example, pronunciation practice is important. So those are the sounds that you make when you are speaking a certain language. However, as a countable noun, pronunciation means a specific way of saying a word or a sound. So for example, in English, we have like British English, American English, Australian English, Irish English, Scottish English. There are many different types of English, so there are many different pronunciations of the same word. For example, there are 2 or 3 different pronunciations of this word. So that means there are 2 or 3 different ways of saying this word. So, but we use pronunciations in the plural form to make that much easier and shorter to say. So it means a specific way of saying a word or sound. So you might see pronunciation used as an uncountable noun or as a countable noun in your studies. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful for you. This is maybe a good introduction to some nouns that can be used in both countable and uncountable ways. Please keep in mind there are more, but I think that these are some very common ones that you can practice. Of course, if you know of some other nouns that are used in countable and uncountable ways, please feel free to include those in a comment to this video below. If you have any questions or comments or any other things, if you want to practice making some sentences, you can please do that in the comments of this video as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. Thanks very much for watching. Also, if you did like it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about expressions to use when speaking to a stranger. I'm going to talk about some expressions you can use in service situations and also just if you need a little bit of help on a street, for example. Let's get started. Okay, the first expression is excuse me, excuse me. Please make sure when you approach someone you don't know to ask a question or to ask for guidance, you use excuse me. Sometimes I hear people say, I'm sorry. You might use I'm sorry to interrupt you if for some reason someone's working on a computer or they're doing something. You might say I'm sorry to interrupt you, but generally excuse me is better. Also, please consider the way you say this expression. If you say, excuse me, it sounds a little bit apologetic. It sounds like you don't want to bother the person, but you have a question. If you say, excuse me, it sounds a little bit aggressive. So it might sound like you're upset or you're angry about something. So generally, if you want to ask a question, if you need some help, it's better to sound a little bit apologetic, like, excuse me. So try to sound a little bit apologetic. I think that's a little more polite when you need to ask someone a question and you don't know that person. So after you say, excuse me, there are a few different things you might need to ask this stranger. This is a very polite pattern you can use. Would you happen to know? Would you happen to know? We begin our question with this. Would you happen to know some information? After this, we're going to use, in many cases, what's called an embedded question, So I'm starting a question here. Would you happen to know information? So that's a question. And inside this question is another smaller question. So we use these patterns, this question inside a question, to make very polite questions. So let's look at some examples. Would you happen to know where I might find a coffee shop? So this where I might find, so this sounds very polite as well. Where I might find, where it's possible for me to find. I'm not sure exactly where the coffee shop is. Maybe do you know about where there's a coffee shop? So would you happen to know where I might find a coffee shop? Or would you happen to know where the library is? Or would you happen to know what this line is for? So maybe you see a big line of people on the street and you're curious. Would you happen to know what this line is for? Or would you happen to know what floor the restroom is on? So you could use this in a department store or another tall building. Would you happen to know who the manager is? So you could use this in a business situation or in a shopping situation. Or would you happen to know if this transportation goes to destination? So transportation here means bus or train or maybe car, I suppose, subway. Goes to. So if this bus or if this train goes, make sure to use goes here because we're talking about train or bus, singular transport. So if this train goes to destination, the place you want to go, would you happen to know if this train goes to 3rd Street? Would you happen to know if this bus goes to LA? So there are many points I want to talk about with these examples. First, a pronunciation point. When you say this expression, would you happen to know? We push the sounds together. We reduce these sounds. So not would you happen to know, but would you happen to know? Would you happen to know? So this sounds much more natural. Also, you'll notice the grammar, especially in these sentences, is a bit different from a regular question. This is a special kind of grammar for embedded questions. I have it in this note here. If a form of the verb to be is used in an embedded question, the verb changes its position in the sentence. It follows the noun. So when you're, excuse me, when you're making regular questions, the verb be comes before the noun. So let's look at some examples. Let's look at this one. In this sentence, I'm using the verb be. Here I'm using is. So would you happen to know where the library is? So this kind of question is something I hear many learners struggle with at first, but it's an easy fix. In a regular question, you would just say, where is the library, right? Where is the library? So is comes before your noun. Where is the library? In an embedded question, however, where the library is, be follows my noun here. So this is something we do for embedded questions. When we're putting a question inside another question, we follow this grammar pattern. Another example, what this line is for. What this line is for. So here, again, if I see a line of people on the street, I might say directly, what is this line for? What is this line for? And this for means like the purpose. What is the purpose of this line, in other words? What is this line for? In an embedded question, however, is, in this case again, comes after the noun. What is this line becomes, would you happen to know what this line is for? So we change the position of the be verb. Same thing here. Would you happen to know what floor the restroom is on? In a regular question, what floor is the restroom on? In an embedded question, would you happen to know what floor the restroom is on? Finally, one more here. Would you happen to know who the manager is? Regular question, who is the manager? Embedded question, would you happen to know who the manager is? So I'm using this one for today's lesson because it sounds very polite, and it's probably better to try to be polite when you're speaking to a stranger. But if you want to use this polite pattern, you need to keep in mind you'll be using an embedded question and your grammar will need to change. So yes, you can use a direct question like, where might I find a coffee shop? Or where's the library? Or what is this line for? Or what floor is the restroom on? And so on. Those are all perfectly fine. Those are great questions. They are very clear. You can say, excuse me, where's the library? You can absolutely say that. There is no communication problem at all. But if you want to level up your speech, make it sound more polite, make it sound more natural, you can use this pattern with this more advanced grammar. Okay, let's continue to the other side of the board. Here, just a couple of other clear questions, yes or no questions, a few of them. This one, is this the train or bus or subway and so on for destination? So this is another question about where transportation is going. So I introduced this pattern. Would you happen to know if this bus goes to LA? So you can use a very polite pattern like that. Or this one is a little less polite. Excuse me, is this the bus for LA? Or excuse me, is this the subway for 3rd Street? That's also very polite. And the person can say, yes, it is. Or nope, it's not, it's that one. So you can use this if you don't want to use this long pattern. This is still perfectly nice, perfectly polite. It's okay. It's not as polite as this one, but this one is very clear and very direct. Another pattern, I'm looking for person or location or item. This is something that you will probably use in shopping situations. You need to talk to staff somewhere, or perhaps you're just in a really big building, you're visiting a client or you're visiting some other business contact and you need to find another person or you need to find a place, so you ask someone who is working there. So you can use people, you can use specific places, or you can use objects in this pattern. I'm looking for the manager, or I'm looking for this person, or I'm looking for the restroom, or I'm looking for the break room, or I'm looking for a pen, or whatever it is you need, you can use I'm looking for something. And then, if you want to be polite, you can say, do you know where I could find, or do you know where I might find him, her, or it? Him and her refers to a person in this case. You might also hear them, depending on the situation. Some people prefer to use the word them to refer to themselves. Do you know where I could find him or her or them? Or for a place or an item, do you know where I could find it? So you can use one of these to clearly ask a question. So I'm looking for this person, or I'm looking for this item. Do you know where I could find it? So this could and might. I have these two things here. The difference is small in this case. Do you know where I could find him, or do you know where I could find it? Means, do you know where it's possible to find that thing? In other words, this is a very polite way of saying, where is he, or where is she? Do you know where I might find him? That sounds like there's a possibility that person is in that location, or there's a possibility that object is in that location. This one, it just sounds more polite in this case. Both of them mean, where is it? Where is he? Where is she? Where are they? And so on. So they're just different levels of politeness to ask this question. Okay, sometimes you need to ask a kind of direct yes or no question to someone. Like, are you name, or are you job title? So you could use this if you meet like a famous person, or you think you see a famous person, or you could use it if you're looking for someone who has a specific job title. Like, are you the manager? Or are you Hugh Jackman? So if you run into a famous person somewhere, or someone you know but you have not met, like, are you the designer of this fashion line? You could use a pattern like this to ask them that question. Finally, if you are in a shopping situation and you need some help, but you don't want to accidentally ask another customer, you could ask this question. Excuse me, do you work here? Do you work here? So that means, do you work in this store that I'm in right now? Excuse me, do you work here? So if you're not sure if someone is staff or not, this is the question that you can ask them. So I hope that this lesson gives you some patterns that you can use when you need to speak to strangers, especially when you need to ask strangers for a little bit of help or guidance. So, of course, there are other expressions that you can use when speaking to strangers. If you have some more ideas, please feel free to leave those in the comment section of this video. Also, if you have any other questions or comments, or if you want to practice making some sentences, especially with this embedded question pattern, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Don't forget to like this video if you liked today's lesson, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well if you haven't already. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, welcome back to Know Your Verbs. My name is Alicia, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the verb shoot. Let's begin. Let's talk about the basic definition of the verb shoot. The basic definition is to release something held under tension, or to launch something by explosion, by gas, or by air. Examples: you shot me with a rubber band. They shot a rocket into the sky. Let's look at the conjugations for this verb. Present, shoot, shoots. Past, shot. Past participle, shot. Progressive, shooting. Now let's talk about some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning is to wound or to kill someone, or to destroy something. Examples: the man was shot in the arm. The thief shot out all the security cameras. So in the first one, the man was shot in the arm refers to being wounded in the arm. In these cases, too, when a person is shot in a specific body part, it's usually referring to a gun, being shot with a gun in some way or in some location. In the second example sentence, we see the thief shot out. Actually, shot out is kind of used for like light bulbs or other like machines, maybe TV screens or computer screens, for example, something with a light, sort of like how we turn out the light, we can shoot out a light as well. So to shoot out a light means to fire a gun and cause the light to go out, actually. So to shoot out a light is like to damage the light as well. So turning it off and damaging it or destroying it by shooting it. The second additional meaning is to cause to move forward quickly or to send something quickly. Examples. Shoot me an email later. Did you see that? A shooting star. First one, shoot me an email later, means just send a quick email to me later. It's like just a quick kind of short image there. Shoot me an email. In the second example sentence, look, a shooting star. It's a star that's moving quickly across the sky. So it's shooting. So shooting refers to very quick motion like this. The third additional meaning is to take a place quickly. This is a designated place, like a specific place or a specific position that is quickly assumed, quickly taken. Examples. He shot into his place in line. She shot straight up in her chair. Okay, so in the first example sentence, he shot into his place in line means there are many different places in line. One place is designated as his space. He quickly moves to that place in line. We can say he shot quickly to his place in line. In the second example sentence, she shot straight up in her chair. It means her posture improved to the correct position in her chair. And she did it very quickly. So this kind of pose, I guess. She shot straight up in her chair, but we use shot to refer to a quick motion. We could say she sat straight up, but to use she shot straight up shows that it was a very fast motion. The fourth additional meaning is to take a picture or to take video, as we are doing right now. Examples. We're shooting the shoot episode of Know Your Verbs right now. The video team shoots a lot of stuff every week. Okay, so this refers to using a camera to take pictures or to take video. We say shoot to refer to taking the video or taking the picture. So we use shoot to refer to recording images, recording video with a camera. So we talk about shoots actually a lot in this office. Like we have a shoot scheduled. We use it as a noun. But right now we could say in the verb form, we're shooting a new episode. So shoot refers to recording images and videos. Let's move on to some variations for this verb. The first variation is to shoot down. To shoot down actually has two different meanings. Let's talk about the first one. The first meaning of to shoot down is to reject, to reject. Examples. He shot me down when I asked him out for dinner. My proposal is going to get shot down. So this means reject. So in the first example, he shot me down when I asked him out for dinner. Means he rejected me when I asked him out for dinner. He said no. In the second example sentence, it's a prediction. My proposal is going to get shot down. My proposal is going to get rejected. Someone is going to say no to my proposal. The second meaning of to shoot down, however, refers to using a gun or some other kind of weaponry to cause like a flying object to go out of the air and to fall to the ground. It can also mean to kill a person, usually from like a standing position, and then they drop because they have been shot. Examples. The victim was shot down in the street. The enemy is shooting down planes. So in both of these example sentences, there's like a fall that happens. So in the first example sentence, someone was shot down in the street. There's a person standing and then they are shot. As a result of that shot, they go down. So we use the expression shot down in past tense. In the second example sentence, we see it in the progressive tense. The enemy is shooting down planes, referring to an ongoing situation where the enemy is attacking planes and causing them to fall from the air. The second variation is to shoot oneself in the foot. This means to cause misfortune to yourself. So, examples. We shot ourselves in the foot when we partnered with that new company. They're terrible. I shot myself in the foot when I canceled my contract. There was a big fee. So both of these refer to making a decision that turned into some kind of misfortune. In the first example sentence, it's a partnership with a new company, but the new company is terrible. So we say, I shot myself in the foot, or we shot ourselves in the foot, meaning we caused misfortune. with our decision. So it was our own decision that caused that bad situation. We can say, I shot myself in the foot to explain that. In the second example sentence, it's a personal situation. I canceled my contract, but I shot myself in the foot because there was a big fee for canceling my contract. So it caused some kind of misfortune, some negative situation. The last variation is really not so difficult. We use the word shoot as well when we make a mistake. We could say, oh, shoot. It's kind of like the light version of a more serious curse word or swear word. So when you make a mistake with something, if you hurt yourself, if you, I don't know, don't do something you were supposed to do, whatever, you can say shoot or oh, shoot, shoot, to express that feeling of disappointment or maybe anger or surprise as well. Shoot is commonly used this way. We also use shoot when we're talking in a discussion and someone wants to share an idea or has some kind of new information to give us. So it's kind of like a friendly command to speak. So one person might say, I have an idea for you. The other person could say, shoot, meaning go, speak. So it's quite friendly, shoot. So there are a few other different ways that you can use the word shoot. But anyway, I hope you found a new way somehow to use the word shoot from this video. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, or would like to try to make an example sentence, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. If you liked the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for other good resources. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. Welcome back to Know Your Verbs. In this episode, we're going to talk about the verb nurse. Let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the basic definition of the verb nurse. The basic definition of the verb nurse is to care for someone or something. It means to care a lot, or to give a lot of attention and care to someone. Examples. Her family nursed her to health. He nursed his wife during her illness. Okay, let's look at the conjugations of this verb. Present, nurse, nurses. Past, nursed. Past participle, nursed. Progressive, nursing. All right, now let's move on to some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning is to provide or take breast milk, as for babies. Okay, let's begin with a couple examples. The baby is nursing well. How long are you planning to nurse the baby? So in these situations, the example sentences are relating to either a baby drinking breast milk or to a mother giving breast milk to a baby. In the first example sentence, the baby is nursing well. It means the baby is eating or the baby is drinking well. And that refers to breast milk specifically. So not anything else, but nursing refers specifically to having mother's milk. In the second example sentence, a question. How long are you going to nurse the baby? It means how long are you going to provide breast milk for the baby? So this is probably a question for mothers, or I suppose it could be fathers also, asking about the baby's care. But nurse, in this way, when talking about newborn children, refers to milk, either giving or taking, if you're talking about the baby. Okay, let's move on to the second additional meaning for this verb. The second additional meaning is to use something carefully to avoid pain or to avoid injury. Examples. He's been nursing his hand all day. She's nursing her left foot, isn't she? So we see nursing used in the progressive tense, in the ing form in both of these. In the first example sentence about nursing his hand, that means he's using his hand very carefully, maybe because it's painful to use the hand regularly. So for example, if a person breaks their wrist, which I've done, it might be painful to move the hand properly. So to avoid pain, people might nurse that wrist, or might nurse the broken bone, or might nurse their injury, meaning that they're very careful, like they move it slowly, for example, or they don't move it very much, or they don't apply much weight to it. We see the same thing in the second example sentence. She's nursing her left foot, isn't she? That shows that perhaps she's not applying much weight. She's not stepping or standing a lot on her left foot, or she's being very careful about her left foot. So nursing shows that they're taking some extra kind of care with an injured or painful part of the body. So this is an additional meaning of the word nurse. The third additional meaning is to consume over a long period, sometimes an unusually long period. Examples. You're really nursing that beer. She nursed her tea by the window. All right, so we commonly see this with drinks, actually. So drinks, if you take a very long time to consume the drink, to drink the drink, someone might say you're nursing your drink. It just means you're taking an unusually long time to drink it. If, for example, as in the first sentence, you're really nursing that beer, it's like your friends or whoever you're drinking with, they expect you to drink the beer more quickly than you're drinking it now. So maybe you've had the same beer for an hour or 2 hours maybe, but your friends have had 2 drinks, for example. So that means maybe you're taking an unusually long time. In the second example sentence, she nursed her tea by the window. It's like she's just taking a long time to enjoy her tea, for example. Maybe she's holding it and not drinking it quickly. Just means she's taking her time to consume the drink. So nurse can have this meaning of taking a long time to drink or eat or consume something, but commonly used with drinks. So the verb nurse doesn't actually have any particular phrasal verbs or idioms that are used along with it. But I hope that you were able to find a few new meanings from the additional meanings section of this video. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you would like to try to make a sentence using the verb nurse, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Of course, if you like the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for other good English study tools. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. To use something carefully to avoid pain. Right, okay. The second, sorry. What? I will read it properly now. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Know Your Verbs. My name is Alicia, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the verb order. Let's begin. Let's start with the basic definition of the verb order. The basic definition is to request something. To request food at a restaurant or a cafe. To request items from a catalog or from the internet, for example, to order. Okay, some examples. I ordered a pizza. Did you order new office supplies? All right, now let's look at the conjugations of this verb. Present, order, orders. Past, ordered. Past participle, ordered. Progressive, ordering. Now let's talk about some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning is to command, to command. So to command means to ask someone, but very, very strongly. Could be a military situation, could be a school situation, your parents could be really strict with you. Let's look at some examples. Okay, the general ordered everyone to clean. We were ordered to return to our homes. So in both of these example situations, someone or some entity, some group, some organization is commanding someone else to do something. In the first example sentence, the general ordered everyone to clean. It means the general in this situation commanded, so strongly asked, everyone in the situation to clean. So this could be like a military situation. Everyone in the group has to clean the cafeteria, for example. So it's a strong command, a strong order. Another important point about the idea of a command is that if you don't listen, if you don't do, the thing you're ordered to do, if you don't do the thing you are requested to do, there might be a bad outcome, a bad results, bad consequences. So you should probably do that thing. So the general ordered everyone to clean. If you don't clean, you could get in trouble. The second example sentence was, we were ordered to return to our homes. Here we're using the passive voice. We were ordered by whom? We don't know. We don't know who gave the order, but we were ordered to return to our homes. So again, this is a command. If we do not return to our homes, there might be some bad results, some bad outcome. So we should do that. So ordered means command in these cases. Okay. Let's go on to the second additional meaning for this verb. The second additional meaning for this verb is to arrange or to organize something. Examples. I ordered everything according to color. The files are alphabetically ordered. So in the first example sentence, I ordered everything according to color means I arranged or I organized everything, for example, clothes or maybe pens or supplies, according to color, which means probably things of the same color are grouped together or are organized, are arranged together. So, but I use the verb ordered. I ordered everything according to color means I arranged or I prepared everything according to color. We just use ordered instead here. The second example sentence uses a very common expression, alphabetically ordered. Alphabetically ordered means according to the letters of the alphabet, the material is arranged. So this could be, for example, a list of names or a list of books or a list of movies, but they are alphabetically ordered, meaning the top of the list begins with A or the letter closest to A, maybe B, and then the bottom of the list is Z. So everything follows the order, so the sequence of letters in the alphabet. Everything is alphabetically ordered, alphabetically arranged. Okay, so now let's talk about some variations on this verb. The first variation is the expression out of order. Out of order. So out of order means broken or suspended from use. We cannot use that thing. It's somehow not safe to use, or it's not working, not functioning correctly. Examples. The vending machine is out of order. The company printer is out of order. So both of these mean that the machine in the subject of the sentence is broken, or there's some other reason why we cannot use that thing. So the company printer is out of order. Maybe it's broken. Maybe it's missing a piece. Maybe there's no ink. Maybe there's some other problem related to it. Out of order is kind of a vague, open reason. It can mean a few different things, but in general, it just means this thing cannot be used right now. It is out of order. Out of order. The second variation is a pair, actually, of phrasal verbs, which can mean the same thing. It is order in and order out. Depending on who you talk to, these can actually mean the same thing, but it's just personal preference. Order in and order out just mean getting takeout or delivery food. So you might hear say, I'll just read the example sentences. Do you want to order in tonight? Let's order out for lunch. So you might hear, depending on the person, people might choose order in or order out. I know I definitely say order in when I mean delivery because it sounds like I order something, I request something, as in the basic definition of the verb, and the food comes into my house. That's my logical thinking. Order out is also used, but it means like to get takeout or to get delivery. In other words, not to cook, but not to go sit down at a restaurant either. There's some kind of delivery or pickup happening to order in or to order out. Just depends on the situation. Let's talk about one more variation. The variation is to order around, to order someone around. So to order someone around means to command them unnecessarily. So it's like you ask someone to do small tasks, lots and lots and lots of things. You could do them yourself, but you make the other person, you force the other person to do these small things for you. It's like just because you want some power over that person. It's typically not a good thing to order someone around. Examples. I'm tired of my boss ordering me around. He kept being ordered around by his friends. So in the first example sentence, I'm tired of my boss ordering me around. It means the speaker's boss asks them to do lots of small things that really aren't that necessary, or they're time consuming, very tedious. So like lots of small details to take care of. So the speaker is frustrated, or the speaker is unhappy that the boss figure is asking so much and maybe for no reason. So they use the expression order around. I'm tired of my boss ordering me around. In the second example sentence, he kept being ordered around by his friends. Ordered around here refers to the behavior his friends are using. So we've included friends in quotation marks there because the idea is that friends, true friends, do not unnecessarily, ask people to do things for them. Like true friends aren't going to force tasks on their other friends. That's not very nice. So to order a friend around is probably pretty rude, or it's like there's like a power thing, a power situation happening there. So to be ordered around by your friends is probably not a good thing and not a good sign. Okay, so that's one more variation. So I hope that you got a few new ways of using the verb order and you learned a few variations that include this verb. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to try to use this word in a sentence, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Of course, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, come check us out at EnglishClass101.com for other English study tools. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Can you sing the alphabet backwards?
The alphabet backwards? Opposite alphabetical order? Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T. No. Hi everybody, welcome back to Know Your Verbs. My name is Alicia, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the verb pat. So let's get started. Let's start with the basic definition of this verb. The basic definition of the verb pat is to lightly touch, to show affection, usually. So it's this motion, to lightly touch something, usually to show affection or like that you're happy or there's something good that happened. So this is to pat, basic definition. Examples. The little boy patted the dog's head. She patted her mother on the shoulder. Let's look at the conjugations for this verb. Present, pat, pats. Past, patted. Past participle, patted. Progressive, patting. Now let's talk about some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning for the verb pat is to smooth something with light touches. So the idea is that there's some kind of wrinkled fabric or there's some kind of wrinkled material. It's bumpy or rough, not smooth. And we use this motion somehow to make it smooth. So, examples. Pat the dough into a rectangle. She's patting out the wrinkles in the cloth. So both of these example sentences refer to this kind of light touching motion to create a smooth surface or to create like a smooth shape. So in the first example sentence, it's about patting the dough to become a rectangle shape. So that means the dough originally is like a ball shape, perhaps, and we use this motion, a patting motion, to create a rectangle from that dough. In the second example sentence, it's about a wrinkled fabric or a wrinkled cloth of some kind, so kind of bumpy, it's not smooth. We use this motion, again, to create a smoother fabric, so the fabric eventually becomes a smooth surface. Okay, let's move on to the second additional meaning for this verb. The second additional meaning is to hit gently with a tool. So it's not a hard strike, it's not a really, really rough motion. It's something very, very gentle, like maybe for a fragile item or something kind of soft. So examples. We patted the dirt in the flower bed with our shovels. pat the drum during this song. So in both of these examples, we see there's some kind of tool used along with something else. So in the first example sentence, it's we pat the flower bed with our shovel. So maybe after planting flowers in soil, in dirt, we pat the ground around those, like to smooth the ground around it. So we use a shovel. This is the tool in this case, to pat the soil or to pat the flower bed, the place where the flowers are resting. We use this motion with the tool, the shovel. In the second example sentence, there's a mallet or some kind of hammer-like object we use to lightly hit a drum during a song. We can use pat to describe that. So pat the drum during this song. I would probably imagine in most cases we say like beat the drum or like strike the drum. I don't know. Okay, so now let's talk about some variations for this verb. The first variation for this verb is to pat down, to pat down. So we use the expression pat down here because this sort of thing happens usually from the top of the body, like starting with the shoulders maybe, and it makes this patting motion across the body, checking for items under the clothing, and then it moves down the body. This patting motion moves down the body. Of course, I suppose in some cases, maybe it starts at the feet and moves up, but we still use the expression to pat down, to check for things under people's clothing. Examples. I hate getting pat down at the airport. Excuse me, we need to pat you down. The second variation is to pat someone on the back, to pat someone on the back. This means to tell someone they did a good job. So this can actually mean physically patting someone on the back. It can mean actually touching someone on the back and saying, good job, well done. Or it can just mean using your words to express your appreciation, to express approval. You could say like, a pat on the back. You could actually say that. Or just, good job, nice work, great, something like that. So this could be physical, or this could just be with words. Examples. My boss gave me a pat on the back for all my hard work the last few weeks. Pat yourself on the back. Great work. So that second example sentence, pat yourself on the back, great work, refers to another person telling the listener, you did a great job. You should be happy for yourself. Like you should be proud of yourself. So pat yourself on the back. You should be happy with yourself. Pat yourself on the back. So those are a few different ways that you can use the verb pat. I hope that you found something new from this lesson. Of course, if you have any questions or comments or want to practice making a sentence, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also check us out at EnglishClass101.com for English study resources. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Like the little squares, that's a pat of butter. That's the counter word used. Isn't that weird?
Is that why there's a pate?
No. Pat. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Know Your Verbs. My name is Alicia, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the verb adopt. Let's get started. Okay, let's start with the basic definition of the verb adopt. The basic definition is to legally take another person's child and raise the child as one's own. Examples. One of my family members was adopted. Have you ever thought about adopting a child? Now let's take a look at the conjugations for this verb. Present, adopt, adopts. Past, adopted. Past participle, adopted. Progressive, adopting. Now let's talk about some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning is to take and use, usually something that is new. Examples. She adopted an upbeat personality for the evening. Maybe the company should adopt a new strategy. So these sentences use the word adopt as in like finding something new or finding something that's not usually used, but putting that thing to use in that situation. So this is a rather open meaning, I know. So let's look at the first example sentence to get a little bit more detailed. In the first example sentence, we see she adopted an upbeat personality for the evening. So adopted in this meaning means to take something and to put it to use, something that's new. So that means she isn't usually an upbeat person necessarily, but for this evening, she had this idea to have an upbeat personality. So she decided to become a more upbeat person for the evening. So that means it's something different from her past behavior. So for the evening only, she decided to be upbeat. She adopted an upbeat personality for the evening. In the second sentence, maybe the company should adopt a new strategy. We see adopt being used to mean like take on a new strategy. Maybe the company should take on some kind of new strategy is what this sentence means. But adopt is a quick and easy way to say that. To take something, like to take an idea in and to put the idea to use is like adopt, to adopt an idea, to adopt a strategy in this way. Let's look at the second additional meaning for adopt. The second additional meaning is to accept something and implement it. Examples. The government has adopted a new policy. We adopted the architect's proposals for our new home. So here we're seeing adopt used very similarly to the first additional meaning. However, it means that there's something that's accepted. So like there was some outside idea, like some kind of proposal that's presented somewhere to somebody, some group, and then it's accepted. Following the acceptance, it's implemented. That idea is used, it's put into effect. So there's kind of this flow happening with this use of adopt. So it's not only taking on something new and using it like we saw in the first additional meaning, it's like there are a few different steps. There's like a proposal, a new idea, acceptance of that idea, and then use of that thing. In the first example sentence, it's about the government. The government has adopted a new policy. Means a new policy was presented to the government accepted the policy, and the government is now using that new policy. So there are effects of that new policy. There are all these different stages of the new policy. So the government has adopted a new policy means it's at this final stage. So now this new policy is like in effect. So it's been accepted and now it's going to be in effect if it's not in effect already. In the second example sentence, we adopted the architect's proposals for our new home. We see the same sort of flow. So there was some idea from the architect presented to the client accepted the idea, and the architect put it into practice. The architect put it into effect. So there's some acceptance and then implementation of that thing. So they adopted the ideas, in other words. So they took on that ideas and put them into use, into practice. The next additional meaning is to promise to care for something, to promise to care for something. Some examples. Our community group adopted a park. The organization is adopting a highway and plans regular cleaning. So in this use of adopt, we're often not talking about a person being adopted. Rather, it's a place. Like in the examples here, it's a park, or you might often hear a highway or some other kind of community space. So to adopt that space, to adopt that location, means to care for that location. In many cases, adopting a park or adopting a highway or something similar means that a person or an organization pays some money and their name becomes attached to that location, but they are also then responsible for caring for that location. So you might see this on highways. Like I remember when I was growing up on the highways in California, it would say adopt a highway program on the signs there. So to adopt a highway means to give some money, have your name attached to that part of the highway, and then have some responsibility for caring for that part of the highway. So there might be some community places that have been adopted by people or by organizations in the city. So there's some kind of name recognition, yes, but there's also responsibility to care for that. So it's adopting, like adopting a child, I suppose, but we're adopting a place. We have to care for that place, make sure the place is nicely maintained and is safe and good for the community, essentially. So in addition to this, you'll also see adopt used to talk about pets. This can be used more to talk about adopting animals from shelters. So we don't really use adopt when we talk about buying a pet from a pet store. Rather, adopting a pet is something that occurs more when an animal is in a shelter, like the animal has been lost, or the animal has been abused, or bad or negative past experience. There are a number of reasons why animals might be in a shelter, but people who come to the shelter and choose a pet from the shelter, we can use the verb adopt to describe that activity of choosing a pet and taking the pet home. In that case also, to adopt a pet means to come to a shelter and choose a pet and take the pet home with the promise of caring for that pet. So feeding the pet, cleaning the pet, making a safe environment for the pet too. So adopt can mean a location. It can mean for children, as we talked about in the basic definition. And we can also use adopt to talk about pets as well, pets that we can find at shelters too. Okay, so I hope that you found a new way to use the verb adopt in your everyday life. If you have any questions or comments, or if you want to try to make a sentence with the verb adopt, please feel free in the comment section of this video. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for other good English study resources. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Where you discover new learning strategies, motivational tips, study tools, and resources. By the way, all the lessons and bonuses you're about to see can be downloaded for free on our website. So click the link in the description right now to sign up for your free lifetime account. Okay, today's topic is the secret to speaking more of your target language. If you're like most language learners, then above all, you want to speak and understand more of your target language, right? Well, keep watching. You'll learn how to prepare ahead of time to speak more, how to put this tactic to use with our learning program, and how to get free cheat sheets that'll get you speaking more. But first, listen up. Here are this month's new lessons and resources. First, do you know how to apologize in your target language? With this printable conversation cheat sheet, you'll learn all the ways to apologize and show respect in your target language. Second, the 7 tested ways to learn language fast. With this bonus ebook, you'll learn how to use our learning system to speak better, remember more words, and improve fast. Download it for free right now. Third, medicine and medical treatments. This 1-minute lesson gives you all the must-know words and phrases you'll need when talking about prescriptions and treatments. Fourth, the top 25 words for transportation. You'll learn how to say words like plane, train, automobile, and much more in 1 minute with this quick vocab bonus. Fifth, back-to-school words and phrases. Do you know how to say homework or what class are you taking? If you don't, this next 1-minute lesson gives you all the words you need for the school season. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. The secret to speaking more of your target language. If you're like most language learners, then above all, you want to speak and understand more of your target language. But how do you speak more when you're just starting out, when you can't yet create sentences off the top of your head? Here are some tips. Let's jump into part 1, how to prepare ahead of time to speak more. So, what's the secret to speaking more of your target language? It's something called preparation. And believe it or not, you've likely used it if you've ever had to give a speech or a presentation. So, what do we mean by preparation? Imagine that you have to go open a bank account in the language that you're learning. How would you do it? You can go in there, grunt, and use body language, or you can first come up with a list of words and phrases you need to know before you go, like debit card, bank account, I want to open a bank account, and minimum balance. You may want to look up the grammar rules for how to say, I want to. Once you know these words and phrases, you translate them into your target language and you go over to the bank to open an account. Or let's say you're meeting a person for the first time. What are some things you'd say to them? Things like, what's your name? My name is, where are you from? I am from, and so on. So you prepare a list of words and phrases, all the things you'd want to say in that situation. You translate them ahead of time so that you can communicate effectively. That's preparation. And preparation works because most conversations are predictable to a degree. For example, most conversations with friends start with greetings and catching up on how you've been. And if you know the lines for greetings, catching up, and talking about your weekend, then you can easily handle such a conversation. The point is, the more you prepare, the more you learn to speak without needing a teacher. So, how do you prepare? Part 2. How to speak more through preparation. Here are some tips. If you're using our learning program, 1. Take our audio and video lessons. You'll find these in our lesson library and just focus on the conversational lessons. Lessons are just 3 to 15 minutes in length, and in the first minute, you'll hear a practical conversation. For example, meeting someone new, catching up with a friend, or ordering at a restaurant. Then, our teachers break down and explain every word and grammar rule, so you can learn these lines and conversations ahead of time. Number 2. Download the audio dialogue track. This gives you just the conversation. So when you finish a lesson, download it for easy review. Then make a playlist out of all of them and play the conversations on repeat. This will make them much easier to remember. Number 3. Save the lesson notes. The lesson notes give you the lesson in writing, so you can read the lesson dialogue, the grammar explanations, and cultural insights for every lesson. Download and keep the notes for conversations you think are useful. For example, if you want to talk about the weather and you took a lesson on that, then download the lesson notes for that lesson. Now, if you're looking to prepare ahead of time for specific topics, then do this next one. Number 4. Use our free PDF conversation cheat sheets. These conversation cheat sheets teach you words and phrases for all kinds of common conversation topics, like weather, hobbies, family, plans, and much more. You can prepare for the most common conversations with these cheat sheets. If you want to access our free conversation cheat sheets, leave a comment down below and we'll give you the link. Number 5. Look up lesson topics in our lesson library. If you want to open a bank account or eat at a certain restaurant and you don't know how to talk about these topics, find a lesson about it in our lesson library. Number 6. If you're a Premium Plus user, simply ask your teacher to point you to lessons for certain topics, or even better, ask them for potential lines, and you can even practice speaking. Just record yourself, send it in, and your teacher will provide you feedback on what to say and how. Number 7. Do it the old school way. Sit down, think of a topic you want to talk about. Make a list of all the words you think you need, all the phrases you want to say or may hear in that conversation. Then, translate those words and phrases into your target language. So let's recap. Most conversations are predictable. You can prepare ahead of time by thinking of all the words and lines you'll need for various conversations. And you can prepare with 1. Our audio and video lessons, 2. Conversation tracks, 3. Lesson notes, 4. Free PDF cheat sheets, 5. By looking up specific topics in the lesson library, 6. Asking your Premium Plus teacher, and 7. By manually coming up with a list of the words and phrases and translating them. Everyone can find 5 minutes to spare somewhere in their day. Why not use that time to learn a language? In 5 minutes, you can jump into a new lesson, vocabulary list, or grammar point. Let's look at the concept of the 5-minute rule. It's a simple idea that can help you be more successful in your language learning. In this video, you'll learn about the 5-minute rule and how it can help you master a language in the long run. Point 1. The 5-minute rule can help you put your time to better use. Have you ever caught yourself falling down a YouTube hole? Or have you ever looked up from a simple phone game and realized you've been playing for 30 minutes? Of course you have. We have all had this experience at some point. The idea with the 5-minute rule is that you take some of that time you might be spending on something not so productive and turn just 5 minutes into time you spend learning language. You can even do this on your phone with our app. Our audio and video lessons are 3 to 15 minutes long, so it's easy to spend 5 minutes on a lesson. You can also review vocabulary and phrase lists, review the word of the day, or drill words with flashcards for 5 minutes. There are a ton of ways to study. You just need to sit down for 5 minutes and do it. There's no need to stress about how to fill hours of study time. Point 2. The 5-minute rule can help you take advantage of bite-sized learning. Why is it a 5-minute rule? What's so special about this amount of time? Before we answer this question, imagine your typical day. You wake up in the morning and go to work or school. You finish in the evening and come home. You want to study, but you think about spending hours of your limited free time on learning and you lose motivation. If, however, at the end of a long day, you come home and think about spending just 5 minutes studying, it becomes much easier to motivate yourself, and you're much more likely to actually do it. Expecting yourself to spend hours of each day studying after going to work or attending school can make you burn out quickly. You might be able to keep it up for a short period of time, but for many people, the amount of pressure they put on themselves causes them to lose motivation and stop completely. 5 minutes, however, is easy to keep up with every day. You won't dread spending 5 minutes of your free time on your studies. And you'll probably find that once you start, you'll study for longer than just 5 minutes. Breaking your studies into small pieces can help you jump in whenever you feel like it. There's one simple study tool that will help you speak more of your target language. It'll help you understand entire conversations and catch every single word. It'll also help you respond in conversations. The tool is the Dialogue Study Tool. It'll help you with all of this and will help you improve your reading and writing skills. In this video, we'll look at how the Dialogue Study Tool can aid your language learning. Number 1. What is the Dialogue Study Tool? The Dialogue Study Tool is a premium study tool that you can find in every lesson. The Dialogue Tool is a line-by-line breakdown of the conversations in your lessons. You get the dialogue script in the target language. You get the Romanized version, the translated script, audio pronunciations, and access to a voice recorder for each line. Number 2. Why is the tool so powerful? For example, let's look at how you can use it to improve your speaking skills. When you listen to a lesson, use the dialogue to read along. As you listen, speak out loud along with the lesson. Repeat what you hear. The dialogue tool makes mastering conversations super easy. It breaks down the lesson conversations one line at a time. You can use it to make sure you understand every line, phrase, and word without getting overwhelmed. And you can also use it to perfect your speaking, reading, listening, and writing skills. If you're not sure about how to say something, you can click on the audio icon next to the line to hear it spoken by a native speaker. Then repeat out loud. You can do this as many times as you want. To perfect your pronunciation, click on the microphone icon to start recording. Record yourself saying a line and compare your pronunciation to the pronunciation of a native speaker. These tactics will get you speaking in minutes, and if you apply these to every lesson, you'll be speaking your target language in no time. But what about listening? Since the dialogue is a line-by-line breakdown of the conversation, you can listen to each line separately, as much as you want. Just click on the audio icon. You can listen again and review the script. Read along with the script so you can catch every word. This will help you understand fast, native-level conversations without missing anything. Reading is another skill to improve with the dialogue tool. As you listen to the conversation, just read along with the lesson script that's inside the lesson dialogue. If you don't know a word, click the translations that are in the dialogue. You can even read with the Romanized script to help you sound out the words. Lastly, let's talk about how it can help boost writing skills. This is a very simple, basic suggestion. Just write the dialogue down in a notebook, by hand. Just writing down the dialogue provided gives you a chance to practice using letters or words you might never have written before. This is especially true if you're studying a language that uses an alphabet or script you're unfamiliar with. Another benefit is that it gives you things to write. Instead of taking time to think about what to write, you can just write the dialogue down. The dialogue tool can support your studies in many different ways, and this makes it a powerful aid for your language learning. There might be times in your life when you need to learn something right away. Maybe you have an unexpected exam, you need to prepare for a new job, or you might be traveling for work. In situations like these, many people feel the need to try to study a lot of information in a short period of time. But can you really learn a language by cramming in all of your studying in a short period? In this video, we'll talk about how cramming works with language learning. 1. Is cramming effective? A lot of people would probably answer yes to this question based on experiences they had in school. Most of us have probably had the experience of staying up late the night before a test to cram as much information as possible. But how much of that information do you remember now? Cramming can work if you have a test tomorrow or a short-term study goal. For example, if your only goal is to pass a test or give a presentation within a few days, cramming isn't a bad idea. But it doesn't work very well if you want to remember what you studied in the long run. A great example of a better way to study is with something like our spaced repetition flashcards. One of the most effective ways to study is to review something over a period of time. Spacing out your studies is what helps you learn and retain information best. You learn something today, you come back in 2 days and review it. Then, you come back in 4 days and review it some more. In contrast, cramming is a one-time thing. You cram a lot of information in your brain, take a test, and then forget it all. But when you review, you're strengthening the synapses in your brain. Synapses are like little roads that connect the neurons in your brain. So the more you review, the stronger the connection and the better the recall. But what if you need to learn fast? 2. An example of a cramming schedule. Let's say you're traveling for work and you really need to learn some greetings and some basic survival phrases to make it through your trip. Time is probably not on your side. Your only option is to cram. Here's what a cram plan might look like in a case like this. Spend some time on survival lessons before going to bed. Increase the amount of time you spend with anyone you can talk to in your target language, another student or maybe an online teacher. Increase the amount of time you spend on any online language classes you're taking. Another problem related to cramming is that your study time has to come from somewhere, and that tends to come from sleep, so that's not a good thing. We don't recommend cramming, but if you have to cram, which we all do at some point, here are some ideas for how to do it. 3. Cramming learning program. Cramming might get you a lot of fast results in a short period of time, but with just a couple of one-time study sessions, it's a strategy that won't help you in the long run. If you find yourself in a situation where you absolutely have to cram, here's what you can do. First, pick the lessons that align with your goal. Focus on just what you need. If you're learning for travel, skip the other lessons and focus on our survival phrases series. If you want to learn basic conversations, look at the top 25 questions you need to know content. If you need special phrases for the bank or the post office, we have lessons for that too. And you can find lessons for all kinds of topics and scenarios in the lesson library. Second, prioritize lessons at your level more than the challenging lessons. If you're working within a limited time frame, you'll get more value for your time by doing lessons that are at your level. You can spend more time on the harder lessons later if you find you have the time. We have a vocabulary slideshow tool and a flashcard tool that you can use for quick study sessions. Both of these features quiz you on vocab and help you learn fast. Focus on mastering a few must-know lessons. It's better to know all of the dialogue from 5 lessons inside out than to run through 60 lessons and not remember anything. You can also take advantage of our lesson notes. Inside the lesson notes, you'll get the lesson dialogue, translations, explanations, sample sentences, and cultural insights. We have a printer-friendly version of the word bank too. Just click on that to create a printout. It'll give you a physical study sheet you can use to review anywhere. You can also print out PDF conversation cheat sheets and infographics. These teach you the must-know words and phrases for all kinds of topics: travel, basic conversations, talking about hobbies, airport vocab, and much more. With the infographics, you can save the images to your phone and just swipe through them for a quick review. And finally, when you're ready, do a quiz session. Even if you're low on time, a bit of review can help. After you're done with a lesson, stop and ask yourself, what was the main grammar point of the lesson? Try and explain that rule to yourself in your head, or say it out loud. Remember, we don't recommend cramming as the best method for learning a language. The key to building skills is repetition. But if you need a quick study session to learn a few key points in your target language, we have the tools to help you. When you're ready to come back and review what you've crammed, we can help you with that too. You've studied for a while and are ready to talk to people and practice what you've learned. But where do you start? Starting a conversation in a new language can seem a bit intimidating. How do you just jump into it? In this video, we'll look at 5 ways to start conversations. Number 1, introduce yourself in your target language. This is usually one of the first things you learn when you start studying a new language. And sometimes, starting a conversation, or continuing one, is as simple as introducing yourself. Number 2, talking about the weather. This is a universal talking point. People talk about the weather all over the world. And just saying, "It's really nice today," is enough to start a conversation. A great way to practice your weather conversation skills is to check out our Can-Do lesson pathway. This series of lessons teaches you how to talk about the weather in your target language. Number 3, give compliments. Compliments are a great way to start a conversation. You can compliment something about your conversation partner's city, country, or something specific to them personally. Hey, your bag is super cute, or that ice cream looks delicious. These kinds of compliments can lead to further conversation about what you complimented. In this case, it could be fashion or a local restaurant. This is a great way to make quick connections with people. Number 4, ask for help. For example, you can ask for directions, ask about prices, or request recommendations for restaurants or shopping spots, and let the conversation go from there. People are usually happy to lend a helping hand to tourists who are visiting their city. Number 5, learn phrases for transactions. This could include getting a room at a hotel, or telling a taxi driver where to go. When you're traveling overseas, you'll need to talk to other people in your target language. And while this might be a bit scary at first, you'll find that the people you meet are just happy that you're trying to communicate with them. So get started talking in your target language now. Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.